Hey, this is Nicole calling from Hamilton, and I needed to let everyone know that I really proudly support Vish and Creative Control. I have for many years, I will for many more, as long as he keeps delivering these amazing interview podcasts. When you hear one of Vish's interviews, you think he's known this guest for years, they're good friends, but the truth is he approaches every interview, whether it's sort of up-and-coming indie artists or established icons or like famous, intimidating comedians with a really deep, genuine curiosity, so he's never met this person, and the same really warm candor, as so he's known them forever. I think it really lends to a great chat, no matter who he's talking to, and for that reason, I think you should throw Vish, $1 a month? He's got jokes. The jokes make it worth it. Support Creative Control on Patreon.
To make your flexible monthly donation to Creative Control, please visit patreon.com/Creative Control today. I'm Vish's wife, and remember, when you name a dog Janet or Timothy, you are dragging humanity down just a little bit.
Kevin McDonald is an ingenious comedic performer and writer currently based in Winnipeg, Manitoba. Originally from Toronto, McDonald is best known as a member of the hugely influential Canadian sketch comedy troupe, The Kids in the Hall. He has gone on to work in film, television, and he currently is the primary force behind the podcast Kevin McDonald's Kevin McDonald Show, and he is also an in-demand instructor for his unique comedy workshops, which he teaches all over the world. On Friday, December 13th, 2019, McDonald returns to the Rivoli in Toronto for 2 stagings of his new production, Kevin McDonald's Rock Opera, and he and I met for a chat in Toronto the day before, where we discussed Jesus Christ Superstar, his podcast, John Lennon and the Beatles, a new show he's working on with the Kids in the Hall writer Norm Hiscock, big news for the Kids in the Hall and their fans for the year 2020, and much more. A part of the E1 Podcast Network with the support of listeners like you who subscribe to this podcast and spread the word about it and make flexible monthly donations at patreon.com/Creative Control, plus in-kind support from Pizza Trokadero, The Bookshelf and Planet Bean Coffee in Guelph, and Grandad's Donuts in Hamilton. This is the 512th episode of Creative Control, featuring the tremendously funny Kevin McDonald of the Kids in the Hall, with your host, me, Vish Khanna. Hello, is Kevin there?
Just a second, I'll check. Kevin! Hi, Kevin here. Who's this?
Hi, Kevin. It's Vish Khanna calling from Canada. How are you?
Hi, how are you?
Oh, I'm well. It's nice to speak with you again.
Well, I'm a little busy, but okay.
Yeah, no, I appreciate that. I appreciate that you're busy. I was thinking about you because the last time you were on my show, we spoke on the telephone, and I wanted to recreate that magic here today. And
oh, that's right.
Yeah, it was a nice time.
I was in my office.
Yes, that's right. We're actually, that brings me, as I do with most...
My office in my house.
In your house.
I'm not so successful that I have an office outside of the house.
Kevin McDonald Industries is all in your living room? Yeah. So, as I often do with remote interviews, I ask my guests where in the world they are. Where in the world are you today, Kevin?
I'm 4 feet away from you in Toronto, Ontario, at a place that a part of town that didn't exist when I lived here last in 1996. What's it called? Liberty Village.
Sorry, the connection is clear, but the call kind of dropped out there for a second.
Hello,
I missed part of what... Hello? Are you there, Kevin? Are you there? Are you there? You're in Liberty Village, did you say?
This is the first Kid in the Hall joke we ever did in front of an audience. With Luciano Casimiri was the original Kid in the Hall. We went in front of the audience and he got a mic and said, "Hello? Is this working? I know I am." which I think is an old
That's a good joke. It's nice to speak with you again, I have to say.
Thank you very much.
As you know, you mean a lot to me as a human, as an artist, so it's nice to chat with you.
Thank you very much.
Now, what brings you to Liberty Village in Toronto, per se? Beyond speaking with me, why are we here today?
Well, we're here to talk about the reason why I'm in Toronto in a general sense, and that is I'm going to the old comedy haunting grounds, that is the Rivoli, on Friday night, December 13th. Friday the 13th, I just thought of that.
Is that bad luck in showbiz?
Or maybe it's good luck in showbiz. In real life, it's bad luck. And never say Macbeth in a theater. This is not a theater. Is it? Is a recording studio like a theater?
It's kind of like that. It's a performance.
Yeah. You're supposed to do something. You're supposed to spin around backwards and say something.
I don't know a lot about theater. Is that a thing?
Or superstition? Yeah. And Mark McKinney, Scott Thompson believed it, and out of spite, Dave and I, we were like doing our theater run. We were like rehearsing in a theater, and we said Macbeth, 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 and then they freaked out, and Mark started crying, and they made us do these things. Dave refused to do it, but I did it, and they hoped it was good enough.
How did that go? Was it okay?
I think that's the run where Lorne Michaels came and said.
Oh, it worked out for the best.
It worked out. So does that mean there's no Macbeth thing, or that you have to do the around backwards thing?
Are you generally a superstitious person? You seem like you might be.
I am, but I also in the back of my mind know it's ridiculous. But
okay.
But I also believe it. I believe it, and I think it's ridiculous.
Both.
Yeah, I believe superstitious things. I do say if the next person that comes in the airplane is blonde, I'm gonna get a big part in the movie. Like I do stuff like that. And I do genuinely get sad when the person isn't blonde.
Wait a minute, you actually create your own superstitions? Like, yeah. I've not heard of that.
Yeah, I create my own. Yeah, the Macbeth thing, I don't know if I believe in. It's my own, though. I create my own.
Yours are actually valid. Okay. So you're doing a production, so to speak, of Jesus Christ Superstar?
No, it was. People keep thinking that. I've talked so much. That's funny. When I was a kid, I was inspired by Jesus Christ Superstar.
Who wouldn't be? Who wouldn't be inspired?
Also, I was like a Catholic who. I was like 12 when it came out, so I was beginning to disbelieve in a way. In the religion, just a religion, and
Jesus as a dude you find to be honorable and believable.
Jesus is like. Wasn't he the first Gandhi or the first Martin Luther King? He's Gandhi with a few magic tricks.
Okay.
I think there's someone that existed, at least said real loving, peaceful stuff.
Sure. Okay. So Jesus, you don't have an issue with.
Yeah.
Religion, maybe.
Religion, yes.
Is a problem.
Yeah. Okay. I think so. But Jesus Christ Superstar really spoke to me. First of all, the music was great. So you're Jesus Christ, the great Jesus Christ. Prove to me that you're no fool. Walk across my swimming pool. So the music is great.
That sounded like a good song.
That's a funny song. What's the buzz? Tell me what's happening. What's the buzz? And then Jesus turns around and they're going, what's the buzz? Why do you want to know? Don't you care about the future? So the music was cool when you're 12, but also the lead character is really because here's the definition of lead character, Vish.
Okay.
The definition of lead character is a person who goes through the most changes. So the lead character in Jesus Christ Superstar is Judas.
Right.
Because he's tortured, whether he tricks himself into thinking that he's betraying Jesus for the good of the world, and at the end he realized that maybe he was jealous of Jesus and he did it for bitter reasons, and he did take the money. And he has some amazing songs, and the guy that played Judas was amazing, Carl Anderson?
Maybe I don't know. I can't remember. What production of Jesus Christ Superstar?
I'm talking about the movie.
You're talking about the film.
The movie, yeah. And then later I bought the album, and that was great too. And who played Judas? The Deep Purple guy played Jesus, right?
I think that's correct, yeah.
And I know that the Judas guy is also famous. I just forget who it is.
Do you want me to look it up? I can look it up on my phone.
I'll keep talking then.
Yeah, you keep talking. Hang on. I have to have another conversation. Just one moment. Hey, Siri.
Oh, sorry.
No, it's fine. Who played Jesus Christ Superstar?
Who played Judas?
You're right, sorry. Hey, whoa, it's weird. Hey, Siri. Who played Judas in the film adaptation of Jesus Christ Superstar?
I think it's Carl Anderson.
I don't really know.
Okay, I think it's Carl Anderson. It's Carl something. It's Carl Weathers. No, that was Apollo Creed.
Carl Weathers was Apollo Creed.
No, the
a
album,
Judas character in his own way.
I'm trying to know who did the album.
Okay, hang on. I'm going to look it up. I'm just going to look it up as you're speaking.
All right, I'll speak.
You talk about.
So I loved rock operas, and then it would only natural that I'd write a rock opera. Am I a musician? No.
You like all rock operas? Do you like Tommy?
I like the concept. I like Tommy.
Okay. Musical by Tim Rice.
Feel me.
Right. There we go.
Yeah.
Okay.
Weber and Rice. Don't forget Weber.
Weber and Rice. But you want the soundtrack. You don't want...
Yeah, Jesus was the Deep Purple guy. Was it Ian something?
Yeah, hang on. Ian. I should know these things because I'm a music person.
Yeah, it's age and stuff in me.
Yeah, I know. I'm trying to remember too. But this inspired you to take this on yourself? Is that what you're saying?
It was in the back of my mind to do a rock opera. And also...
Carl Anderson. You were correct.
In the movie, but not
Carl
in the...
Anderson. Not in the soundtrack. Okay, God damn it. I'm going to keep... Sorry, I didn't mean to blaspheme.
Not the soundtrack. That's the soundtrack to the movie.
Okay, I'll find it.
And Ted Neely, of course, was Jesus, but we all know that.
Right, of course. Is that what that says? Ted Neely? It says Ted Neely. Yes, of course. Yes, of course. Yes.
Of course,
Okay. So
also, to me, was rock opera-ish when there were sides and albums, and I guess albums have made a comeback, so people know what I'm talking about. Side 2 of Abbey Road also influenced me.
Oh yes, absolutely. The medley,
where like it's like 2 medleys, and then it seems like one big medley, and like one giant song with a lot of little parts. And when I got my first guitar at 32, and I learned how to play very badly. I can't really play. I'm not a musician. I can't tune a guitar without a tuner, and I can't play individual notes or riffs, but I can strum. So I wrote songs sort of like mini Abbey Roads. And I've written a lot of songs that I use in my shows that you may have seen.
Yeah. I saw your show last December, I think.
There you go. And that
At
was
the Rivoli?
Yeah. I think I'll be in the opening set. Because the rock opera is only 45 minutes long, I'll be doing a couple of songs from those.
Okay, right. So it was you and Alan Piggins, as I recall.
Yes, and it'll be Alan Piggins playing Dave Foley in the rock opera. So the rock opera is based on a true story that happened to Dave, Scott Thompson, and myself. In do you need me to be quiet so you keep looking?
No. I sorry. I don't mean to interject here, and I'm sorry that phones have... You
get the album?
Yeah, okay. For the recording,
yeah.
Andrew Lloyd Webber and Rice drew personnel from both musical theater. Murray Head had just left the West End production of Hair, and the British rock scene. Ian Gillan.
Deep Purple.
Yeah, Ian Gillan, is that right? Had only recently become the singer of Deep Purple. He was fresh to Deep Purple.
Yeah.
Many of the primary musicians, guitarist Neil Hubbard and Henry McCullough, bassist Alan Spencer, and drummer Bruce Rowland came from Joe Cocker's backing group, the Grease Band. And saxophonist Chris Mercer had also played with Hubbard in Juicy Lucy.
Was Murray Head Judas?
Yeah. Sure. I don't know. I'm just looking
Ian
at...
was Jesus.
Okay. I think that might be correct. I'm going to stop researching this on the fly now, but I think does that help? Did that help you?
That makes me feel helpful.
I'm sorry I didn't know the names off the top of my head.
I should have. I've known them for years. Murray Head, he was also in that great movie with Glenda Jackson, but I forgot the name, but don't Google it.
No, I'm not Googling it. Okay.
Bloody Sunday.
Oh.
That's
great song.
It's a movie before the sun.
Right.
So to go back even more to explain how this was born, for the past 3 years I've been doing a podcast.
Yes. What happened? Has it stopped?
It hasn't stopped. It's just that my producers, they have younger podcasts far more successful than mine, doing 50,000. But they keep me because they like me and I like them. They're nice. And I'm a kid in the hall, so I'm more known than the young people.
Right.
So they keep me for that, and also they like me.
Yeah.
But I only average 3,000. So I still want to keep doing it, but instead of doing one once a month, I'm doing one every 2 or 3 months. But I want to keep doing it for the writing because I'm enjoying the writing because it's got a sketch, a song.
It's called
a story.
It's called what again?
Kevin McDonald's Show.
Just want to plug that for people.
I only average 3,000 listeners, and
why does that bother you?
No, it's a Kids in the Hall thing. I'm used to. Well, Dave would have. I bet Dave's because he's got one with Paul Greenberg, and I'm sure his gets like 30 or 40,000.
There are so many of these podcasts now that I'm sure everyone's taking a little bit of a hit.
Well, and mine is long, and it's a variety show.
It's great. I think it's very inspirational. It's got everything that one would want.
Well, I'm going to keep doing it, but like less. I just want to make sure my producers don't lose money. So,
do you have some in the can, so to speak?
Yes, I think I have 2 that are coming out. One with Thomas Middleditch, which is a good one, and one with one of my favorite musicians that no one's heard of in Charlotte. We did in Charlotte, North Carolina. He's from there, and I was playing a festival there. Benji Hughes.
Benji Hughes. Okay, I'm not familiar with Benji.
Well, later YouTube his song. If they have it on YouTube, "You Stood Me Up."
Okay.
It's like a Brian Wilson song.
Okay.
At first you think it's cute, but then by the end, nothing really changes about it. But then you go, oh my God, this is a great pop song with funny lyrics.
Maybe a bit of an...
It's about a date where the woman stands him up.
Okay.
And he finds out that she was lying.
I see. Okay. So, and this is a real... Music is a real passion for
Yes!
you. Even though you only started playing guitar when you were 32.
Yeah. It's, again, enough to strum and I do songs. So I was doing one podcast in Seattle in 2017. And name dropping happening. And my friend, he is Ben Gibbard from Death Cab for Cutie, was going to be a guest. And I had to start, like I said, I always do a sketch, a song, a story, an interview with the guest, and I have fun with my guest announcer, whoever that is. Conceptual fun, which means the audience doesn't laugh. And
sometimes they laugh.
Sometimes they laugh. Never the announcer part.
No.
That's always the conceptual part. The part I enjoy the most writing.
There's a lot of pressure on an announcer at a show like yours because people are there to see you.
That's true. That's true.
And they know you're
the
funny.
Weirdest thing.
Right. And they have to. You write the announcers' spiels, right?
Yeah.
That's a lot of pressure. They've got to perform in your voice, and then the audience.
And it's only funny if my voice does it.
I think it might be.
So if they come early enough to like have a rehearsal, my notes usually like this. Could you do more like Kevin McDonald? And then they just do this, and that's not quite.
That's not quite right either.
That's not quite right. Like,
Are you? Do a lot of people imitate you? Do you find?
Yeah, I'm the easy one to.
As the kids in the hall, people like to imitate you the most.
Yeah, it's like half Ronald Reagan and half Kermit the Frog.
You have like a cartoony kind of persona for some people. Do you embrace that?
Yeah.
This is just who you are.
Because it's true. Because it is what it is.
Yeah. So you started. You mentioned Ben Gibbard's podcast,
and I was so the story I was writing for that one it's a true story with Dave Scott and I and an ex-girlfriend of mine that was my girlfriend in 1991 during the Run of the Kitchen Hall series, where we go to New York, and it's a wild story, and it seemed like an epic story, and I thought Ben Gibbard's doing it, and you've always wanted to write, Kevin, a rock opera. Or like a side 2 Abbey Road kind of song. So I wrote I guess it's like 42 minutes right now, though I've added 4 more songs. And when I do next time, it'll be the 4 songs. It won't be in the opening set, we're doing one of the new songs in the opening set.
Okay.
Where Kevin McDonald in the rock opera say, I sing a song about how a rock opera needs a hit song. I remember a part because I need the lyrics and chords in front of me to do it. I can't memorize, so you hum this in the taxi, I will repeat the part that's catchy. So you hum this in the taxi,
now it's going to be in my head.
Yeah.
It's an earworm.
It'll be more catchy, hopefully with Alan playing it. And so I wrote this rock opera. I wrote it in a month, and Ben Gibbard played the part of Dave Foley.
Oh.
And it's like needs 3 or 4 singers, depending on what city. I've done this. This will be the 6th time I'm doing it. I'm like Chuck Berry. I pick a different band. Though it's Alan Piggins, who's like a dear friend, and a guy dear friend. That's how Bruce would put it. Dear friend.
I know Alan from Guelph days.
There you go.
Alan's from Guelph.
There you go.
And that's
the Morganfields.
That's right. And that's where we met. And his dad was actually his late father was one of my first teachers. Yeah, he was I was in English, but I took I think it might have been the first course of my life at the University of Guelph was with his dad.
Yes,
who passed away.
Who sounds like a wonderful guy.
He was a very sweet guy, and was a nice way and I learned stuff. Psychology is very interesting, don't you find?
You said that in a psychiatric kind of way.
I did kind of. Well, I mean, you do these interview podcasts a little bit anyway.
Well, sometimes they become like a psychiatry session. There was one I did. I spent, what was it? I did my off-Broadway run, my one-man show, which you saw.
Yes.
In a week in August, and I spent a day at Sirius XM there, and there was one guy who was like, he's a comedian, but he was like a psychiatrist. And at one point, I was talking about father love and things like that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Dave Foley, I remember saying this. Dave Foley said, Kevin, you just don't have to love your father just because he's your father. And then we had a deep conversation about that, me and the host.
Right. So this is where we're at with these kinds of realms, is we're getting to stuff with it. As a comedian, how do you feel? Like, that's some dark stuff.
Yeah, well, I think that's... I'm just using the word art, not because I'm pretentious, but I don't know any other word to say because I want to mean every kind of art form. My favorite artist is John Lennon. And John Lennon... he took his pain and made a catchy songs. I mean, when he sang Help, the first verse is he's crying for help, and then he changes it to be about a girl.
Right.
I say girl because it was 1965 and not woman.
Yeah, I have been mourning John Lennon's death since I was a little kid. And, as we're speaking, it was just the 39th anniversary of his assassination. And so I've just been on a John Lennon tear myself.
That's right.
But it's interesting. It's very I have little kids, and it's raw. Like those solo records, those first 2 solo records are very raw. And
especially the first one.
But they speak to you as someone who also feels like an alienated.
Yeah. Well, that's the best album ever, and that's what I was going to lead to. Like, I'm a Loser, Help, into the first solo album, where it's a psychiatry album. Well, he had just done the
Primal
Scream, and
Yeah.
so it's a Primal Scream album. And I remember being like 13, 14 when I finally got to hear that album, and it was when he said, "Don't believe in Beatles." Like I got it. I wasn't sad or angry at him. I got it.
Yeah, it's such a beautiful
Just
way
believe
to
in me,
end those.
Yoko and- yeah.
Yeah, it's a so you've always related to. Have you always
Pain comedy.
Pain comedy?
Well, here's the thing about comedy. It should be everything. It should be Jerry Lewis, just shtick. It should be Andy Kaufman, just conceptual, and it should be Richard Pryor. It should be pain comedy.
Yeah,
It should be all. Lately, because I'm closer to the end than the beginning, it seems to be more pain comedy.
Right.
But in the span of my career, I would say, silly, clever, conceptual, and pain comedy. To me, that it has to be all of that.
Okay, so you, as I mentioned, I saw you perform last year, this one-man show. This new show that you're talking about, the show you're doing in Toronto.
The rock opera, which I don't have a name. I may call it Cheaters in Love. I don't know.
So I accidentally thought you were doing Jesus Christ Superstar, but it's inspired.
Well, I know that you're not the only one. Don't worry.
So does it have? It has no name right now.
No, the first one of the new songs that I'm not doing Friday, but when I do it again is the first. I'm gonna have it before the show starts, like proper. We'll all be singing about how I liked Jesus Christ Superstar as a kid. So I've taken the chords of Jesus Christ Superstar, and I've written a melody about how Kevin liked it. And every now and then in the background, you hear the background singers go, Jesus Christ. But
Okay, so this is a big production that is happening in Toronto?
Well, this one won't. That song won't be in. No, it's like a reading. That's another thing. We'll all be reading, like singing from scripts.
Okay.
Because we're only rehearsing tonight for the first time.
Have you staged this anywhere before?
Yeah, this is the sixth time.
Sixth time. Okay.
Yeah.
And so
We did it with Ben Gibbard in front of a live audience.
Right, of course, in 2017. So that's the first time.
That was the first time, and then I've done it Pittsburgh, a few other places, Detroit. I'm going blank, a few places.
That's fine. It's evolved.
It has, but they won't see the evolved version yet. Like I said, I've added. It's going to be an hour long soon, and I'll add the 4 songs.
Okay.
4 new songs.
Okay. So this is all kind of in between other things. You've got the podcast going on.
Yes.
I think you're writing a pilot.
I am writing a pilot with Norm Hiscock.
From Kids in the Hall.
Yes.
What's the pilot? Can you talk about it?
I think so. Why not? There's something I can't talk about that's way more exciting.
Could you put that by your
There's something that I can't
Too
talk
close.
about. Maybe not too close. That's way more exciting. There's something way more exciting that I can't talk about.
Now, why can't you talk about it? What is going on that's so exciting that you can't talk about it?
Well, it's a Kids in the Hall thing that may or may not happen. The reason I can't, because it hasn't been finalized.
Okay.
It's just close, but there is one obstacle still in it, so it may not happen. But it's very exciting.
But
that's it. That was it.
No. Before I ask any follow-ups about that, this pilot, what can you tell me about the pilot?
We're writing it for a big producer, and it's about it's going to be like a dark comedy version of a true thing that's happening. I think it's been happening since World War II. Where CIA, they go to the Arctic and they train seals and whales to be spies to spy on Russia.
Come on, that's not a real thing.
It's a real thing.
Where did you hear that?
It's all over the internet.
So it must be true.
Yeah. Then we have many stories on it. And it started in World War II with pigeons, and it failed. And
pigeons are very smart. We've used pigeons for all sorts of things over the centuries, sending messages.
Yes.
Why do they? I don't know enough about the pigeon. Whales are also smart. I didn't think seals.
And dolphins.
Dolphins very smart. Okay, so
maybe seals is something we added, but dolphins and whales for sure.
Okay, and
we have a good idea where we find out that one of the dolphins we're training is a double spy for them. Double agent.
Okay, so the producer is for the show Schitt's Creek. Is that right?
Yes,
okay, so it's a big producer.
Yeah, and it doesn't mean we'll get the show, but we're working on it and it seems good. And the tone is of it because we're comedy people, is that it's going to be either, you've put it two ways, either a slightly more straight brain candy or a slightly more funny burn this.
Okay. That sounds good. That's right in the... Okay, I think I understand the
see
zone.
See how they sort of meet?
I can...
one a little funnier, one a little straighter.
I could see that. So tell me about your relationship with Norm, though. Norm, I mentioned, was a Kids in the Hall writer. Did you used to write with him a lot?
Yeah. We wrote all the time together. Now, I always say that he was my writing partner, but that's unfair because he also wrote with Bruce all the time, Dave all the time, Mark all the time.
He was kind of a cleaner, wasn't he? Like he would help.
He also did that, but he was also a solo writer on his own.
Oh, okay.
like in the fifth year, we made him, fourth and fifth year, we made him a head writer. In the fifth year, he got his own office. So he started writing things by himself, and he wrote some scenes that people really love. Well, he wrote scenes by himself before then, but like the scene where Creative Possibilities, where I go, office, submarine.
Right, right.
Like he wrote that. And I'm just going blank on the others because of mode, but he...
So he has a significant role.
Oh, you know what he wrote by himself without me? We wrote a lot of scenes together. This is weird that he wrote this without me because it so seems like I would have something to do with it. But I was the star, but the beard.
Oh.
Where I go in the vacation beard.
Yes.
And that seems so much like something I would write. And he wrote it for Bruce.
Right.
But he wrote for me Love and Sausages.
Oh, okay.
This is when he was on the fourth and fifth season when he was on the tear writing by himself, and then Bruce saw something in Love and Sausages, so we traded.
Oh, interesting. Okay, so he's significant. He's a huge, but he's
usually significant.
And
he's just not a little tiny guy who he could change these sentences. He wrote a lot of and together, of course, him and I wrote King of Empty. Of course,
right.
People know this, Kevin. King of Empty Promises and the Things to Do List, and
that was based on you a little bit, though, right?
Yeah, totally.
You used to do that.
Yeah. I still do that. I'm a traveling alcoholic, so I always want to please people, and I say I'll do it, and I mean it.
Right.
At least I think I mean it at the time, and then time fades.
Right.
Like this interview that I just canceled.
Oh, yeah, but the other one. Yeah.
Yeah.
Thanks for making time for me.
Yeah.
No, I appreciate that. Okay.
It's just that it's the only time I can see Bruce, and we have this big thing that I can't talk to you about that we have to...
Why can't you talk to me about it? I came all the way here.
Because it might fall apart. What about the last 23 minutes?
No, it's been fine. You're keeping track that closely? Okay, that's fine.
I just guessed, but wasn't that?
I don't know. I have no idea.
Don't worry. Oh my God, it was 20 minutes. I was close.
Okay, so there's a press...
I'm not timing. I just
I
guessed we
appreciate
started
that.
at 12.
There is a feeling
Yes.
that something is going on with Kids in the Hall in the next year.
Yes.
Bruce has alluded to this a little bit.
Yeah.
I got a press release about this that says something's up.
Yes.
But you can't talk about it.
Only because it might fail, and we're like polite Canadians. We don't want to hurt anyone else that might be involved in it. And who knows? It may fail because of us, or two of us, or three of us, or one of us. And
it's five guys. You got to really do a lot of stuff to pull you guys together.
Yeah.
There was an event somewhat recently
and
where
you get Guns N' Roses together to do this thing.
There was an event not too long ago where I believe the Kids in the Hall were honored. Maybe it was at SF Sketchfest or something like that. Or no, it wasn't that. It was at the Canada Walk of Fame or whatever it was.
Oh, that we became Canadian icons?
That's right, the icon thing. I apologize. And
when you have trouble with customs, try saying, but I'm a Canadian icon. Yeah, step to the side, sir.
But again, I noticed that
never happened.
Was it Mark who couldn't make it to that?
Yeah.
So this logistical issue is an ongoing thing.
Well, yeah. I mean, we all want to do it. We all love each other. We're all like friendly with each other than we've ever been. Like super, but one or two or three of us might be busy. That's
right. Okay. So when's the last time?
It's not like fights or anything. I won't work with Foley. It's not that.
No, I've actually gotten the impression over the years, and it really came through.
We're way closer than we even were when we were close.
Did you read Paul Meyer's book?
I read a third of it. It's a great book. I just stopped. I wasn't going to read it. I can't, like anything I film, I can't see unless it's a Kids in the Hall thing because we have to like prove things. And I wasn't going to read it because it's like icky. It's what did Don Meredith say? It's like kissing your sister.
What?
Danny Don Meredith was a famous football announcer in the 90s, in the 70s, and he would say he was the charming one with Howard Cosell and Frank Gifford.
Sure.
And he would say, a tie is like kissing your sister.
A tie?
A tie game.
Okay,
a tie game.
Interesting. Like kissing your sister. I've not heard that.
And I'm not sure what it means, but it means something. It means like, does it mean, I'm kissing someone? Oh, it's my sister.
Well, what does this have to do with the kids in the hall in that book? I don't understand.
It's like, reading about yourself is icky.
Okay.
It's icky. That's what I mean by kissing your sister.
Okay.
Or kissing your aunt. Who does it straight on the lips. It's icky. But the other kids in the hall, they, of course, were reading it.
Bruce said he didn't read it.
No, you're right. Bruce didn't read it. It was Mark, Dave, and Scott read, and and since I'm the thought of as the memory guy, because long term I still have short term I'm going to, though I did forget Murray Head.
Well, yes, I had to Google some stuff, but that's fine. There's lots of names to keep
the myth is that I'm the long-term memory guy. Before the aging process began so deeply, I was. So they asked me to read it because they thought everything was wrong. And then when I read it, I thought, oh, it's not that it's wrong. It's that he took that part of the story from Bruce, for example. So Bruce sees it this way,
Right.
And you think that's wrong, but that's the way I, Kevin McDonald, saw that part of the story. And after a third, I couldn't read anymore. It was as great as it was, just because it was icky to read about us.
Okay.
Though I learned more about Bruce than I like back in Calgary that I knew about.
I find in my work that when I have a band together or a group of people together, they are saying things to me in front of each other that they never say to each other. And that book has got to be the ultimate example of that.
Because we all did hours of interviews away from each other. We
Right.
never did it together with them, yeah.
Okay, well, I brought it up because it does feel, at the end of that book, you guys had some you brought up Brain Candy. There have been some hard times in the legacy of the Kids in the Hall.
Does he spend a lot of time with Brain Candy? Because he talked
Fair
to me
amount.
so much, he sort of gave up on me at the beginning of my Brain Candy thing.
Why? What did you have to say about it?
I don't know. Like, what do I say about it in the book? You
I
don't
can't remember.
Yeah,
It
you
was
don't
last
remember.
year or something. But well, yes, Brain Candy was this significant event because it was the first big project after the show had ended.
Yeah.
And the troupe was vaguely falling apart at the same time. So there's a significant event.
And it's an emotion. There were a couple of like suicides in the family.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
also the writing was hard. It was us and Norm. Dave quit the troupe, though he had signed the contract the day before he quit the troupe, so he had to do the movie. But here's the secret of the Kids in the Hall, Vish.
Okay,
I'm going to tell you
okay.
the secret.
Please do.
And yes, I may have said it in 2 interviews already today.
I wasn't there for those.
So
They'll be new to me.
So as someone interested in the Kids in the Hall,
Yeah.
I don't want to say fan, put the word in your
I'm a
mouth,
fan.
but as a fan, I thought so. You may find it interesting. And the other kids in the hall don't think about this, and if they hear this, they may go, they go, no, that's bullshit, or they'll go, can I say that in this?
Yeah, of course. Yeah, it's just a microphone.
It's just because you're going to write it up.
No, I'm going to do everything with it. I'm going to do as much as possible with this content, Kevin. It's going to be
It's going to
everything.
be a hat. By
Somehow,
Friday,
exactly.
it's going to be a hat.
It's going to be some pants.
Okay, so this is our interview. But and some are going to say, yeah, I guess that's sort of true. But this is the way that I clearly see the dynamic of the troupe and how the troupe worked. When there was a creative argument about whether we should do this sketch or how we should do the sketch or how we should do at the beginning when we were all together, Brain Candy. But even when we were a stage troupe, the dynamic is this. On one end, you have Mark and Bruce, who are more artistically interested, though they're like 100% comedians, don't get me wrong. But if it came to a point of discussion and argument, they would go for the more artistic. At the opposite end of the spectrum is Dave and I, which is, make it funnier, it isn't funny enough. Yeah, that's a nice color to it, but it's not. And then you have in the middle, Scott Thompson, who is like one of those American voters who's a centralist. Sometimes he votes Republican, sometimes he votes Democrat, depending on who's running. So sometimes he sided for Dave and I, and that's how sometimes he sided with Mark and Bruce, and that's how the scales were tipped one way or the other, and that's how it worked. But in Brain Candy, and I went to a psychiatrist, so I found out later that I was jealous with Dave's success, because he was a star in news radio. And also I was what's a story? We have to do a story. Not every line has to be the funniest thing ever. I went in the Mark and Bruce camp. So Dave was by himself and he got frustrated. And he was alienated because he had to spend a lot of time in Los Angeles filming a show. Mm-hmm. And his precious Kevin, his girlfriend Kevin, was going with Mark. And Scott went with us sometimes too, because he also bought half of my argument that it's a movie. Here's another problem with Brain Candy. May I tell you this?
Yes, please
I haven't
do.
told anyone this.
Okay.
Today.
All right, I'm getting an exclusive, a daily exclusive. Thank you very much.
Yes.
Yeah.
Everything to me, career-wise in arts, is compared to the Beatles in different levels. And what in this respect, what I mean is the Beatles, they started off with pop songs, From Me to You, She Loves You, I Want to Hold Your Hand, which was wild. The chord changes for that were wild at the time, but they were pop songs.
Yeah.
They got a little better and a little more complex. Then they were doing Rubber Soul, then a little more complex, Revolver, and then they worked their way to Sgt. Pepper. I think for Brain Candy, it should have been She Loves You Gag Fest.
Right.
And Brain Candy should have been our third movie. I think we jumped right into Revolver.
Right.
Before we knew what we were doing. And I like Brain Candy very much. I think it's a very good movie.
No, it is the Revolver of the Kids in the Hall.
It is a Revolver, but we should have done our She Loves You.
Right.
And when
You went psychedelic, and you should have went populist.
We went with Poppy. Yeah, exactly. Because Monty Python, Holy Grail, is a gag fest, and then they didn't do enough movies to do it well, but Life of Brian was a more mature, it was about something.
Yeah, right.
About following people.
But obviously Brain Candy spoke to some mood or tone in the troupe.
Absolutely.
Like you guys were in a dark
We
place.
were writing a comedy about depression.
Right, and you
Who
were
does that?
And you might have been depressed.
Yeah.
Things were changing. People were breaking up. And
Also, my wife left me right at the beginning of the writing process. My brother-in-law killed himself, and then Scott Thompson's brother killed himself, which means it was a brother, not a brother-in-law, so he was winning the suicide.
Oh, man. Okay.
And also, we were all in the same room together, and, we had written our sketches 1 or 2 or 3 at a time in the TV show.
Right.
We wrote it all in the same room together in the old stage days, but now we were all cocky and writers, and we had done 5 years of TV show. So we were all writing. Our assistant Trisha Fish, who later became a successful writer on her own, she was in the middle of this, and it was frustrating because as we were writing, we could never get to the next page till we all agreed, and we never agreed on anything.
Yeah.
So that really, with everything else that was going on, Dave splitting up, and Dave and I were best friends. Like, we split up, my wife split up, the suicides, and the writing. But the writing was almost the hardest part because it's frustrating until the end when Mark was in Saturday Night Live. Scott was filled with grief, and Dave was in L.A., and it became Norm, Bruce, and I, and so we just had to go for speed, and that's when we sort of figured out Act 3,
right?
And we and that was sort of fun. Like, I remember Norm telling me, "You're writing a scene where Don finds out that the drug is doing very well in sales. Write that up and bring it tomorrow."
Right.
So I wrote the scene. I was obsessed with Variety magazine, so I wrote the scene where he's reading Drug Variety, and it's number 1. Gleeman X is number 1.
Gleeman X was number 1. That's right.
And then Kelly Macon, the director, said, "We need a scene where Chris Cooper finds Mrs. Hurticure." If you don't know these names, watch the movie.
It's fine. Yeah, it's a cult classic now.
I don't think it is.
Is it not?
It never got bigger.
It didn't get bigger, you don't think?
I don't think so. And
harder to find.
Finally, she's in a coma, and I wrote the scene where I went in the house and the cats fall on my head. I go, cat in my. And so the last 3 weeks of writing was it was a smaller group, and it was fun. We were just solving problems and filling in holes of the script.
So you characterized me as a fan earlier.
No, I don't want to say fan. And then you characterize yourself as a fan.
I am a fan, and I only want to ask this. I only bring this up because you're talking about all this pain. And your fans are a unique kind of fan, I think, the Kids in the Hall fans. Yeah. Do you feel like we are responding either subconsciously or consciously to the pain on display? I'm not sure, because you guys are a comedy troupe.
Partially.
You're very absurd. You're very funny. You're very
absurdism
irreverent.
Too. They're also responding to absurdism, but partially
nihilism, too. And I feel like there's a connection between the nihilism and the pain and how we negotiate that a little bit. And I just wonder if that's true of my relationship with you.
Me personally, or me and the Kids in the Hall?
You and the Kids in the Hall. I wonder about that now.
I think it's a part of it, though. I don't think it's all of it. I think it's, and maybe some people react to the nihilism more. Some people react to absurdism. Some people react to the silliness of Dave and I, me in a dress on top of the piano going, I can't play the piano.
Right.
I think it's all part of it, but and some in bigger extremes, maybe some just maybe the pain of it.
I mean, it's a very dynamic.
What do you find the most for you?
That's what I'm wondering about, because I'm really wrestling with this as I've gotten older too and have kids, and my parents have been sick and all sorts of things. I've had to confront my own psychology and my own anxiety and stress that I compartmentalized it. And so when I think of the things that resonated with me the most 20 years ago, and your troupe was one of them, now I'm starting to wonder what I related to. Was it the rebelliousness of it? Was it the guts? Was it the kind of, anti-authority aspect? And now that I've read the book, and I was always constantly reading your interviews and all that sort of stuff, the pain is there. That is all fueled by pain.
Right.
And a lot of it's parental pain and existential pain. So now I'm thinking, maybe I relate to that pain. And we're in these contexts, podcasts, comedians talking about their core, there's almost always pain.
Yeah. But remember, be positive and negative, none of it works if it isn't funny without being comedy. Like, I've only seen a little of The State, and I'm friends with them now, but they made the top 100 TV shows of Rolling Stone, and we didn't. But, and I know they're funny, but I don't see any pain in The State.
Right.
You're a Canadian, so maybe you're not too familiar with this thing, because it didn't show in Canada.
Mike Lee and Black and I had a conversation, I want to say 12 years ago.
He's very funny, and I know him now.
Just very funny.
Yeah, very funny.
I will say, just to promote his stand-up records in particular, among the funniest I've heard.
Yeah. No,
and it's very under the radar somehow.
He was a guest on my podcast. He's very funny.
Yes, of course. Anyway,
He was funny backstage. That means the acid test of being a comedian. Sorry, go ahead.
so the first thing the first time I interviewed him, I asked him, was the state influenced by Kids in the Hall? And I could hear it on the phone. His back went up.
Yeah,
because I think
it was at the same time.
they were compared to you so much at the time when they were on MTV that I think they grew to resent you guys.
And nobody once asked us about the state.
No one asked you about the state.
No.
That's it. But you guys preceded them.
Well, by a year, I think.
Is that it?
It's either a year or the same.
I mean, that whole group is so huge now. Like all the comedians there.
That's the other thing. This to me proves why the Kids in the Hall as a troupe may have been better than the state as a troupe, because they're way better as individuals.
Right.
Because they're way more successful as individuals.
Right.
We survived for the troupe. Have you read the Kurt Vonnegut book Slapstick?
No.
In Slapstick, there's two twins that when you separate them, they're idiots. And when they're in the same room, they're geniuses.
Right.
They figure out the world's problems.
One dumb guy is the expression, right? That's you. You said that about Kids in the Hall, right?
Yeah, but because it was the 90s, what I originally said was one fat dumb guy.
You can't have one fat dumb guy.
I think I said one big dumb guy.
Oh, okay.
I think Paul Myers may have been afraid of the word big.
Right. But you are one. I mean,
it's the bad rhythm to me. Like Norm said, but you said one big dumb guy. What does he say?
But you're also married to this troupe. Like, are you okay with that? Like, the people are coming to see you because of that.
Absolutely. I mean, that's what it is, right?
Yeah.
I think I'm very funny, but for a lot of reasons, I don't know if I would have been not that I'm super successful, but as successful as I even am without the Kids in the Hall.
Right. There's an alchemy there.
They taught me to bring out the pain in a way, right?
Right.
I mean, Bruce McCullough, here's another Beatles thing. Every artist has a Lennon and McCartney in themselves.
Yeah.
McCartney's clever, Lennon's soul. McCartney's imagination, like Eleanor Rigby. Imagination, but no pain there.
Right.
Lennon is, I'm a loser, hell. And I think the best artist has both of that. But Bruce McCullough was like my John Lennon of comedy. Richard Pryor is a John Lennon of comedy.
Right.
And
because they take their pain and they translate it into something else.
Yeah, exactly.
And it speaks to a universal feeling.
Yeah.
So there's an alchemy in the Kids in the Hall. I'm aware of this. And I think that's why there's always a clamoring for you guys to do stuff. And I think that's why I assume it's not just because it's viable or financially viable. Like you need.
It is not.
Being in the Kids in the Hall, though, I mean, when you get together, that usually...
Oh, it's the most financially viable of the stuff I do.
Right. So there's a reason, but that's not the only reason you do it, right? You're a family.
No, it's like so the Kids in the Hall originally were 13 other people, and they were all as funny as the five of us, as you know, as the Kids in the Hall. But when everyone quit to get successful writing jobs and stuff, the five of us had chemistry, and there's something special. And I remember being a movie usher at Carlton Cinemas,
right? Yeah,
feeling like being proud that we had the name of the group finally. We were just a stage troupe, but the Kids in the Hall, they're like feeling part of something big, like a street gang.
Yeah,
it was like when a kid in New York has a frustrating life. This is the 50s West Side Story street gangs.
I get it.
And he joins a street gang and he's part of something.
Yeah.
And that means you have a huge hole in you, and that leads to other psychological problems. But forget that for now. It made me feel something that I was part of something that was bigger than myself, but that I definitely contributed to.
Yeah, you have these guys who don't really have except for Mark, I think, you don't really have a solid family structure, and then you made your own family.
Yeah.
That's pretty much how it works.
Yeah, the biggest dysfunctional family I'm in is the Kids in the Hall. Well,
okay, so they will reconvene at some point. And you're going to make some kind of announcement at some point.
Yeah. And if the amazing thing doesn't happen, we'll always tour.
Yes, you will do it. And that might happen maybe next year. We'll see.
Yeah.
Okay, you can't say.
Well, hopefully we'll do something next year.
I hope I'm not.
You just can't guarantee
anything.
anything.
I'm not prodding. Am I probing? I've asked.
No.
Okay.
No.
These are just the questions people want to know the answers
look,
to.
I'm the guy going, I may be doing something amazing with the kids.
Are any Kids in the Hall going to be...
I'm wearing a pretty dress. You're just... Sorry, that's sexist. That was better in 1984. I'm so sorry.
One... pretty dumb guy is what the original expression was. Are any Kids in the Hall appearing with you at the Rivoli? Is that last time?
Not this time. No, though. I asked Bruce to do the opening set with me because we used to do a thing in the 80s at the Rivoli. We opened for the people called Bruce and Friend Kevin,
right?
Where he plays bass, and I didn't have my guitar yet. I wasn't 32 yet, so I had my jar of pennies. But he said he was busy, but he's here now.
He's in Toronto.
It's too late to change it.
I asked him to be on my...
he was supposed to be in Halifax.
Oh, is that what's going on?
But he isn't. He's here. Like, I'm meeting him in a couple hours.
Yeah, I exchanged emails with him about him being on my long night talk show that I'm staging opposite your event. I apologize, but I'm sure you'll be fine. And
Maybe not.
So people will go see that show. Are you still doing your workshops? One of the reasons
Yes.
we encountered each other in Guelph is because you were doing some comedy workshops and some performances. So are you still doing those?
Yes. I go almost every weekend to because I live in Winnipeg.
Yeah.
So
how is that? How's
my-
the Winnipeg now?
I slipped on the ice on October 29th and broke my elbow.
How is it? Yeah, you mentioned that before we started rolling here.
It's getting better. It's ahead of its time for bending. It's bending way more than it should, but it should be straighter.
Oh, that's kind of like you.
Yeah.
You're bending
Yes.
too much.
Yes, sorry, the mic. Yeah.
Yeah, I see that
This is
now.
something I can do.
That's horrible.
But it's getting a little better all the time, and I'm doing physiotherapy.
Okay, good.
So that's Winnipeg.
I hope Winnipeg's treating you okay. You like it there still?
Yeah, but we're moving into Los Angeles soon.
Oh, you are.
I mean,
Okay.
I haven't planned anything yet, but
You think you're moving?
Yeah.
Okay. I'm moving to the prairies, to Edmonton.
Yes, you told me that.
Yeah. So that's gonna. I thought we would see more of each other, and it turns out it'll be.
Well, who knows how
Less.
long it'll take me to do it, but
And they're not that close. Anyway, we'll.
but when I come to Edmonton to do another workshop, I'll email you and we'll
yeah,
get
we
together.
could.
so.
Yeah, because we had an interesting interaction the first time I met you on the street in Guelph, which I've talked
Hi,
about
Kevin.
many times. Hi, Kevin, and I say hi, Kevin, and you say hi, Kevin, which I just threw me off for the rest of the month.
To me, my inside joke is that I'm new to the country, and hi Kevin means hello.
Yeah, it's good. It's Kaufman-esque.
It is.
It's almost a taxi.
Here's the thing about Andy Kaufman, and then I'll stop talking and leave and go to my hotel room. And,
Andy Kaufman.
he was the king of anti-comedy, but the beginning of it was still comedy enough that there were payoffs. And then it became more anti, and then it came to the point where his act was being a busboy at, what was that chain restaurant in Los Angeles?
Oh, yeah. Yes, I know what you're talking about, and I can't think of it right now.
I said it the other day.
Morty's? No, that's not.
But
That's
something like
Yeah, something like that, yeah.
It's a famous one.
Yeah.
And so like that to him was performing comedy. That it wasn't funny because he would take the bus after taxi rehearsals, after the TV show, like his TV show Taxi, and go work at a bus bar where nobody knew who he was.
Right. Do you ever indulge in that kind of anti-comedy? On some level, is making comedy that amuses yourself first.
Yes.
Do you
well,
as-
I did with you when I said hi, Kevin.
Yes, you did.
But on stage, I'm more in the Steve Martin school of anti-comedy, where I think he was the king of it. Because I think anti-comedy is making fun. Anti-comedy, at its best, in my opinion, is making fun of comedy while celebrating it at the same time. Therefore, this is the example. When Steve Martin put the arrow on his head, he was making fun of comics who
The
put
shtick.
arrows in. But at the same time, it's funny to see a guy with an arrow on his head.
Yeah. Gary,
That
Gary,
to me is at its best.
I've
Gary
been-
Shandling is anti-comedy.
Gary Shandling used to do this. I've been rewatching the Larry Sanders Show, which features Scott. That is my favorite TV show of
And
all
his
time.
first show was really anti-comedy.
It's the Gary Shandling Show as well. There is this impulse among comedians to make fun of comedy a little bit.
Yeah, it's sort of the hip thing. Do you know Andy Kindler?
Yeah, of course.
you do.
Andy was
He's
just on the
king-
show.
He's
Yeah.
the king of anti-comedy.
He is. He's making fun of comedy
Yeah.
as he's doing comedy. And
When he compared Dane Cook to Hitler,
yes.
because at least Hitler had a point of view.
Andy is so funny and so
That's pretty brilliant.
it's so weird to be so anti-populist as an audience pleasing comedian.
I know.
It's so odd.
But
and-
the thing is, I've seen him perform a million times. We just did a festival together last summer, and I've never seen him not kill.
he always does well. I think the people who are there.
I mean, I guess a few times maybe he hasn't killed, but he can kill doing his anti-comedy stuff.
I love when he's not killing and then he starts to kill based on that.
Yeah,
But when
exactly.
it's faltering
he's the
and-
anti-Johnny Carson.
Yes, exactly.
He's a-
He-
But what's the first time I saw him in '95? I just remember a joke from his where he goes, and I agree with this 100%. I've never been a fan of this group, but he said, "I finally get it why women don't like the Three Stooges. They're not funny."
yeah, Andy's the best. Anyway, you're
I'm gonna go. Yeah,
it's a whole universe. Well, okay, Kevin, thank you for this.
No, thank you.
Where can people learn more about you and your stuff? I want people to. I know you have to go.
I have a Twitter thing. That's all. The Kids in the Hall website page tells you where I'm going.
like your workshops and all that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Where am I going next? I'm doing. In Los Angeles in January. I'm doing on the 11th. I'm doing 2 shows of my one-man show, which
Yeah.
you saw. at the Dynasty Typewriter. Is that what it's called?
Oh, yeah.
And then I'm doing San Francisco Sketch Fest. I thought you would know. You know,
I don't know. I know
Andy
some
Killer
things.
was a guest on your show. You should know Dynasty Typewriter.
Yeah,
it's
I've
the
heard of
new
that.
place where people do things.
Okay.
And then I'm doing San Francisco Sketch Fest, where I'll be teaching a workshop and also doing a million things. Doing my one-man show. Scott's opening for me for some weird. They told me that Scott was opening, doing a half-hour version of his one-man show.
His show is great too.
Well, he just called me and said we should talk together. We should get together and talk about what we're going to do in San Francisco. So I don't know what's gonna.
Oh, okay.
I thought, but it doesn't matter.
Are you finding that you're learning stuff from this workshop? The workshops you do?
Absolutely.
Yeah,
I
it's
say that
helping?
all the time. Yeah.
Okay.
Because I also tell them don't be afraid of bad work, because you learn more. You learn as much from bad as from good work. And because I've seen a lot of bad work, I sort of have learned a lot. I've also seen lots of good work.
I assume that the students are hopefully, at least initially, starstruck, and then they get comfortable, and then
Oh yeah, by like it's like 2 days from like 10 a.m. to 5:30 p.m. with an hour off for lunch, and by like 2:30 the first day they're going. No, I'm not going to do that note.
they
Or why? Why should we
but
try
you
that?
appreciate that the pushback.
I do.
Yeah. Okay, Kevin.
Thanks for saving me on
I
that.
thank you so much for being on my show, and
Thank
I
you,
hope we
Will.
talk
Thank
again.
you. Yeah, we will. Sure.
Okay,
Thank you.
bye.
Do I keep the mic?
Tremendous gratitude to Kevin McDonald for returning to Creative Control. That was fun, a real treat. And this time, he was on the 512th episode of the show, which is part of the Entertainment One podcast network and is available on all iOS and Android platforms and Spotify, Audio Boom, YouTube, whatever you think. Whatever you can think of, it's likely there. If you can't find an episode of the show that you're looking for, or if you want to learn more about me and sign up for my regularly scheduled newsletter, please visit my newly designed website, vishkhanna.com. And Vishkhanna, spelled exactly as it sounds. You can like Creative Control on Facebook, follow the show on Twitter @VishCreative, or follow me directly @Vishkhanna. Also, visit patreon.com/Creative Control to make a flexible monthly donation to keep this podcast going. And once again, in case you missed it, there's a new $6 tier, $6 and above, as a matter of fact, gets you access to exclusive content from Creative Control. I dig into my archives and find old interviews or interesting things, and I post them to the Patreon page for those of you who donate $6 or more. So if you're intrigued by this, most recently, a 2011 interview with Bonnie Prince Billy, Will Oldham. It's like an hour. It's just me and Will chatting. I thought you might want to hear it. So again, go to patreon.com/Creative Control to learn more about how to participate in all of that. Thanks again to Pizza Trokadero, The Bookshelf, Planet Bean Coffee, and Granddad's Donuts for their in-kind support for this show. Everlasting love and gratitude to Jim Guthrie for letting me use music of his on this show. You can learn more about Jim and his work at jimguthrie.org. And finally, thank you for listening to this podcast, Creative Control, and telling your friends that maybe they should also listen to it and subscribe to the show, and then tell their friends and their uncles and aunts to listen to the show. That always helps. It's a good demographic, the uncles and aunts. And yeah, that's all I have to say for now. So I'm going to go. But I will talk to you very soon. Goodbye for now.